All right, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Underground Reggie here on Iron Man. Today we have Dan Duvall from Funny Tweets here. Dan, talk to the people.
Hey, how you doing? How you guys doing today? I'm sure that you can't answer me, so whatever, you're probably doing fine. How's it going, Rico, man? It's good to be on your show. How's it going, dude?
Man, I appreciate that, man. Thank you, Dan. So for the people who don't know, man, you're a comedian, man. I want you to talk to the people, explain to the people a little bit how you got your start in comedy and what inspires you to actually want to get into the entertainment field.
Yeah, okay, yeah, no problem. I am a comedian, and the way that happened is actually not very normal. I have a very interesting story, I guess you'd say. The movie Funny Tweets that we're here to talk about today is actually, I ended up in this documentary because of my story. The story happened through Twitter. So I was always like a funny kid in elementary school, like anything for a laugh. My desk was in the hallway, you know what I mean? I was that kid. So my whole life, I always kind of wanted to do comedy of some sort. I wanted to do stand-up or, be on SNL as every kid's dream, of course. But I never did it. I was always too chicken to do it. But I loved making people laugh. And I used to, when Facebook started, I always wrote funny shit on my Facebook for my Facebook statuses. And I remember I was at a party one time, and I ran into this girl I went to high school with. It was shortly after high school, and Twitter had just sort of arrived, and she told me that I should be on Twitter doing that, and I said, that's stupid, I don't want Twitter. Twitter is dumb. I'm like, I thought it was just people, saying, I'm at the grocery store, and that's it. Status updates. Because you remember when Facebook had pictures and whatnot, but Twitter was just status updates, basically. Yeah,
it was just all one big message board, basically.
Yeah. So I didn't see the point. I thought it was stupid. So, but fast forward like I think it was like a couple months or something. I was living with my buddy, and we were both super hungover one day, and we both were in the same fantasy hockey league. Mm-hmm. Because we're Canadians, so hockey is life. So anyway, I wanted to follow like a hockey analyst on our ESPN, which is called PSN. I wanted to follow them on Twitter to get an edge on the other people in my fantasy hockey league. So we signed up for Twitter accounts, both of us, and then I discovered this guy whose name is Rob Delaney, who of course also sort of got a start through Twitter and being funny on Twitter, and now has the show Catastrophe, which is fantastic. Mm-hmm. I think it's on Amazon. And anyway, I discovered him. He was super funny. He was writing jokes on there, and then through sort of discovering him and going a little deeper, I saw that other people were writing jokes on there as well. And I was like, oh, that's what this girl was talking about. She's like, people write jokes on Twitter. I didn't even know that was a thing. I had no idea. So I started writing jokes on Twitter. Mm-hmm. And before I knew it, people started to follow me. I got a couple of good retweets from a couple of good people. I don't even know, because it's so weird. I don't even know how it starts. Like, you start and you have no followers. You're just yelling into the void. I don't even remember how I got, like, a follower other than my homie who was on the other couch. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, I couldn't even tell you how that happened, but it did. And then people started following me, and I remember my first ever tweet that I tweeted that got, like, a lot of retweets. I don't remember how many it was. I think it was, like, a few hundred or something like that. I said, my dad went out for cigarettes 7 years ago. They must be training a new guy at 7-Eleven. He's so patient and great. Hurry home, you big lug. That was, and that one kind of, it sparked. And then a bunch of people followed me, and then they would be like, hey, follow this guy, he's funny. And then I get more followers and more, and it just kept happening like that. Until eventually I started getting a few thousand followers, and then it just built from there. Now I have about 40,000. But really, what happened is I just got better at writing jokes from Twitter. So I started writing jokes and more, and I took it kind of seriously. And then through that, I started getting some opportunities. Mm-hmm. I started getting. I had a guy message me about helping him write. The message said, "Hey, I need help writing a jingle for a personal lubricant commercial." He's like, if you think this is a joke, this is my phone number. And I called him back. So I called him, and he was like, yeah, hey, his name is Jeff, and he was a director for Biscuit Filmworks in the UK, and Wyden Kennedy, who's ad agency all across the world. Offices in New York, in LA, all over the place. And then so I ended up helping him write this commercial, and then I ended up helping him write a bunch of commercials, and I ended up building an advertising portfolio, and I ended up working for like an award-winning Canadian advertising agency here in Canada for a while. So I actually ended up working in advertising as well. But that was this one opportunity. I actually got a bunch. I ended up writing on a web series in Los Angeles where I met my writing partner, who is now it's a studio head for Lexicon Production. So I do script polishing with him for feature films. And then also, so it just sort of, it wasn't like an overnight thing. It was like just all these opportunities kept happening and cropping up. And so I also got a friend of mine worked at Blue Ant Media in Toronto, and he had another guy follow me on Twitter. He's like, you got to follow my friend. He's funny. So he followed me, and then he ended up asking me to pitch him an animated short for a TV show that was going to be on Cartoon Network Canada and Adult Swim. And I did, and it was called Giraffe Cops, and then that is exactly what it sounds like. It's kind of like the other guys. But they're giraffes. Anyway, so that got picked up, and that lasted for only a season. The show was called Night Sweats by two super funny guys, Bart Batchelor and Chris Nielsen in Vancouver. And so that happened, and and so, you know, after that, I thought I should try my hand at stand-up comedy finally, and I did, and now I'm doing that full-time, and that's my main gig is I'm doing stand-up, and I do some freelance writing on the side, and that all happened because of Twitter. I used to be a pharmacy technician. I was a cashier manager and a pharmacy technician when this all started out, when I signed up for Twitter, and now because of Twitter, I'm a professional comedian and writer and producer now. So, because we produced this documentary.
Okay, so
and that's kind of what that's like the spine story of the documentary. So,
okay, when you first were approached for the documentary, like, what were your thoughts about it?
Well, I didn't really know what to think. First of all, the guy who approached me about it, his name is Laurie McGinnis, but his picture on Twitter was just a dog. So I didn't know.
You're like, it's a catfish.
I'm like, oh, yeah, exactly. I was like, oh, shit, it's a talking dog. Right on. Okay, we'll see where this fucking goes. Because it's Twitter, right? Like, who knows what is going to happen. So I got an at reply, because you can't DM on Twitter unless someone's following you or whatever. So this person at replied me, and like, hey, I want to talk to you about Twitter. Would you be interested in doing an interview? And I said, sure, why not? Like, yes, why would I not? Talking dogs, let's see what you have to say. So anyway, he came to Victoria, where I live, which is near Vancouver, on Vancouver Island in Canada, and he showed up at the door, and I honestly thought it was a woman until he showed up at the door, because his name's Laurie, spelled exactly like my mom's name. So he showed up, and I'm like, oh, you're a dude. I don't care. Like, it doesn't matter either which way, but hey, how's it going? And he had a full camera crew with him, and it was like a real thing, and I'm like, oh, okay. So when he interviewed me, he didn't even really know what he wanted to do yet. He just found joke Twitter to be interesting because there's so many people, you know, posting content, posting jokes for free on the internet. Like, why? And I guess he's trying to find out why. Like, what are you doing, you know? So, yeah, he talked to me, and I sort of told him my whole story, just like I just told you just now, but even more in depth. And he was like, well, this is the story. Like, this is what we're doing. And I said, well, there's a lot more people than just me doing this. Like, I'm not like a special story, you know what I mean? Like, it's interesting, but it's certainly not just me out here. So next thing we know, we're on our way to Los Angeles to go interview. We interviewed a bunch of other people who've had some success from Twitter in the same way. Like Rob Fee, Matt Shirley. There's quite a few people, Danny Fernandez, Amber Tozer. And,
you blew the man's mind, bro.
Apparently, I fucked his shit up. so we went down and we asked Andy Richter from Conan. I just DM'd him because he followed me on Twitter, and I just was like, hey, would you be interested in interviewing for this documentary? And he said, yeah, for sure. And I was like, wow, really? Holy shit. So, it was pretty cool. Warner Brothers let us bring our own cameras onto their lot, and it was like super cool, and everyone was extremely nice to us, and he was just completely accommodating, let us come into his office, set up shop, spoke to us candidly for like an hour. It was really great. The whole experience was awesome.
So I got a question for you. Like, going into the future and going into 2019, like, what are some of your plans, man, as far as your comedy career?
Oh man, well, right now, I mean, everything I've got is focused on stand-up comedy right now.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what I'm having the most fun doing. So I would really like to be touring within the next couple of years. Like it takes a while, but it's going really well. I'm starting to get some opening spots for some bigger names to come through, and I've done a couple of really short little tours through the summer.
Mm-hmm.
Got to do some road gigs, and doing half-hour sets now. So it's going really well. I'm having a lot of success with it. I won a stand-up contest, won the Mid-Island stand-up comedy contest, which was nice. And yeah, so that's kind of what my plan is for right now. I've also got a couple of TV pilots that I'm shopping and pitching, and I do have a meeting about one of them next month that I have to go down to Los Angeles for. That I'm pretty excited about. So there's lots of irons in the fire, but my plan is mostly to just stick to stand-up for right now, because I'm just having a blast doing it. So.
Okay, so in closing, like, what is one of the main takeaways that you would like our audience to take away from this interview right now?
I guess watch the movie, man. Go watch Funny Tweets. Go check it out. It's interesting. It's cool to see a world that you might otherwise not get to see. I think it's cool to take a look at some of the behind-the-scenes people from shows like Simpsons, Family Guy, Modern Family, and just hear what these guys have to think about, like how social media has sort of closed the gap between the middle of nowhere, like an island in Canada, and Hollywood, and the TV and film industry. It really has. Like, there's no way. Like, I mean, Danny Zucker, who's in the film, he's executive producer and writer for Modern Family. Super nice guy. Really, really fun to interview. He was a great interview. He has a very public feud with Donald Trump, which is entertaining. He mailed in scripts to Saturday Night Live in order to get a job there. Like that, he actually had to type it out on a typewriter and mail it, and have one guy read it and be like, "Well, is this funny or not?" Now you just pick up your phone. You can sit on your couch hungover and start tweeting jokes, and it might change your life. Like, that's really that's interesting. Just how far we've come in the last 30 years, even is wild stuff. And also watch the movie for even just listening to Matt Selman from The Simpsons speak, because, man, that guy is the most intelligent, hilarious person I've ever been in a room with in my life. I wish his interview is about an hour and a half long, and I wish that we could have just had that bonus. Hey, here's also this entire interview at the end of the movie, because it's unreal, man. Yeah, I wish I could show everybody more of that interview. But yeah, it's worth a watch. I think you might find it interesting, at the very least.
Dan, I appreciate you taking the time out to talk with us and do this interview with us today, man. This has been another episode of Underground Reggie, and thank you, man.
Thanks, Rico, man. Have a good one. Hey, can I shout out my podcast real quick, too?
Oh, yes, sir, man. Feel free.
Yeah. You guys, myself and another comedian, Chelsea Liu, we have a podcast called The Hate Locker. It's available wherever you get your podcasts. It's about hating trivial things. It's comedic. We have fun guests on. Next month we're going to have comedian Aaron Tuning on there. We just had Everett Byram and Matt Monroe on there as our guests, and it's super fun. You should check it out.
All right, and like that, it's been another episode. Thank you.